Feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges and seeking healing? Welcome to Your Love Talk, a safe haven where you'll discover effective strategies to overcome obstacles. Join Dr. Beverly Booth as she explores inspiring tales of resilience from individuals who have triumphed over adversity, emerging stronger and more fulfilled. Unleash your inner strength and embark on a journey of transformation. Now, here's your host, Dr. Beverly.
Hi there. Welcome to Your Love Talk. I am so excited that you have tuned in today. Please remember to subscribe to this podcast to receive notifications of new episodes each week. You can do that by visiting yourlovetalk.com. Select subscribe or follow and choose the podcast hosting platform you use. I truly appreciate your support. Today, I want to welcome Kimberly Thomas to this podcast episode. Kim is an entrepreneur with over 20 years of global advertising and marketing experience and the author of Lead Fierce, Build, Hustle, Win, Everything They Never Told Me. Kim shares her journey overcoming the obstacles she faced while building her barbershop, Skillz Kutz. Despite experiencing denials in her quest to start her business, Kim was determined not to let that stop her from realizing her vision. Her faith in God and relentless drive for success fueled her perseverance as she navigated through challenges until her dream came to life. Tune in as Kim shares her inspiring story. Hi, Kim. Welcome to Your Love Talk podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. Kim, it was probably about 15 years ago that we connected, and you were an important part of my counseling practice.
Well, thank you.
And it's just wonderful to see how you have grown since you've left the practice. You have done so many things. You are a business owner, you're a mom, you've gotten your various degrees, and you wrote a book called Lead Fierce, Build, Hustle, Win.
Yes.
Everything They Never Told Me. I love that title.
Thank you.
So can you talk a little bit about you, what you do?
Okay. Well, I am an entrepreneur. I am a business owner. I oversee Skillz Kutz Barbershop. We're in Ashburn, Virginia. And it's just a new barbershop with a new, different twist on the barbershop that I felt that was needed. And I wanted to see it. And since no one else was doing it, I built it.
And you know, what's interesting is not a lot of women decide that they want to be an owner of a barbershop. Mm-hmm. So what inspired you to do that?
Well, my husband is a barber, and my background is global advertising and media production. So I also, when I grew up, and my father was Air Force, so me growing up in the Air Force, it actually, for me, it was different because everything was inclusive for children, in the military. And I didn't really see anything segregated because everything was inclusive for everyone, whether it was the salon, the church, all together. None of the races were together. And it just seems so cliche kind of say, because you would think that would be normal, right? But it's not. And I didn't really realize it wasn't normal. And just living in the Loudoun County, Northern Virginia community with so much diversity, people still didn't see that it was segregated, because it was like a barbershop would just, if you wanted to go to a barbershop or a hair salon, they didn't service everyone, even though they would say they do, they probably did, but they would, if you wanted to go for textured hair, like if you walked into a franchise, say their names, but if you walked in, they would charge you more for textured hair. So, or they wouldn't have products for us, for everyone. And that goes on both sides, right?
Right.
So I wanted something that felt and that everybody could come in, everyone can get products for themselves, everyone can get a haircut or a service for their hair texture and not feel like they come in the doors or they had any hesitation to come in the doors. And it even goes back to me studying when I was studying in Milan for a little while. I took some college courses through George Mason and I went over to Italy in Milan. And here I am thinking, okay, I'm in the fashion capital of the world. There's someone to do my hair. There was no one there that could do my hair. There was one lady in Tony and Guy, which is like the top industry salon in the world. And they had one person in there that did textured hair.
Wow.
So that just goes to show that we just needed something for the community and to have, and that was something that I just saw and I saw a need for, and I just wanted to make that happen. And I did.
That's amazing. So you actually serve just every nationality, every ethnicity?
Yes. We even have a guy in there that's a barber. One of our barbers, he is not only a master barber, but he does locks as well. So he does locks, and we had someone during the summer, she braids. So we have a little something for everyone, but also we do all textures of hair.
Oh,
So we have
excellent.
products for everyone, even to the music that we have, that we play. You know, we have R&B, we have country, we have jazz, we have rock. It kind of goes, it represents everyone. So while you're sitting there for 30, 45 minutes or an hour, whatever your service is, you're going to feel a connection.
I love that inclusivity.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So, Kim, what helped you bring this vision that you had to reality?
What helped me bring it to reality was my faith in God. And one of the main turns in my life was when I was when I was working for you, a while ago, I was listening to Joyce Meyer and I was reading this book. And this is before you, because I already took some classes. But before I met you, I was listening to Joyce Meyer and I heard Battlefield of the Mind. And she had spoke on do what you can do and God will do what you can't do. And with this particular challenge or obstacle that I had with the shop was me just seeing this vision and going, okay, God, this is what I see. Now I want to try to get this done. Now the hurdle was, and the reason why I wrote the book was because I was getting into retail space and I don't see women, let alone women of color, and specifically, I didn't see representation of us in retail stores, in retail space. And I don't mean that as just any retail space. I mean prime retail space. Okay. I'm talking about like in the same places next to a Target or to a major grocery store chain or something like that. I didn't see that. And there was no one to get any feedback from or how do I do that? There was none of that. And today you have so many entrepreneurs that just, you want to get an online presence and you want to get an online business going, right? But not too many people have space in a retail plaza, right? So you don't have a physical location. And I'm not even talking about office space. Okay. I'm talking about retail space.
Right.
That's a different game, right?
That can be expensive.
It can be expensive, but they have to also want you there.
Got it.
And that was my challenge. That was my obstacle, because the crazy part is that during COVID, right after COVID, there was a barbershop that didn't do well in a major retail plaza. And I'm talking about like it had all the biggest chains around, retail chains around in that plaza. And this barbershop had closed. And so I was like, oh, this is the perfect location because I want to come in, have a barbershop idea, all these things. And the plumbing is there. It's already set up. It was all the things. And when I called the landlord, the agent, the commercial agent for that, he was so enthused about my idea. Oh yeah, we had this barbershop and you're a barbershop and that'll be perfect. Come over and see the place. So we go see the place. I'm like, okay, this is doable. This is my first business. I like this. This will work.
Okay.
He says to me, nah, we're not interested anymore.
Oh, wow. So the agent told you that as soon as he met you?
Yeah. Now I won't say why he said that.
Okay.
But I can only guess, So then I'm like, okay, well, if I couldn't get that, then I'm doomed. Like, I'm not gonna be able to get anything because that was a barbershop. And I
Yes.
couldn't even get it. So I could have just quit right then and there.
Mhm.
And I told my husband, I said, you know what? The Holy Spirit gave me the face of someone that I already knew who was a landlord of commercial property in prime space. And I forgot all about him. And I called him, and now I'm where I need to be.
He said
And
yes.
yeah, he said yes.
Hmm.
And now he did say yes, but it wasn't easy
Okay.
because now the space that he had, no one had ever been in it. So now we got plumbing, we got electric, we got design issues, we got permits, we got all the things. So now that was not part of my plan. Okay. That was not a part of the plan. And when I heard back to the book, when she said, when Joyce Meyer said, do what you can do, and God will do what you can't do. And I just kept going. I just said, you know what? I can't do design. I don't know design. I don't even know the business really of a barbershop. I'm still learning myself. It's not my field. I don't know the business side of a barbershop, but here I am, I'm learning. I'm like, if I can learn going to school and doing everything else, I could learn this. So I just walked through the steps with the contractor and going through the blueprints and the floor plans and building and watching it being built out and designing and all the things. But that was not part of my planning. So that was a huge, huge undertaking. And so it's beautiful. It turned out wonderful. We ended up getting so many accolades from it. A lot of London, England, they wanted to interview us in a worldwide industry magazine. And so
Wow.
that was really neat to have and just getting recognition from the community and the best thing. And so that's why I wrote the book, Lead Fierce, because when everything they never told me, because you don't there's no one to talk to. There's no one to talk to. Like my friends, I couldn't talk to them. They never had a business in a retail. They have businesses, but they never had a lease in a retail space or going through that process. And that was a lonely process. And you have questions and you want to vent and you want to talk it through with someone. And there's no one there to talk to. And so that's why I wrote the book, because I was like, you know what? They always make it seem like you can go get a loan. You can go get an SBA loan and there's grants and all this stuff. Well, okay, well, the real of it is you got to be in business 2 years to get a lot of that stuff. You got to
So true.
prove yourself. You got
Yeah.
to prove yourself. And if you don't prove yourself, if you don't invest in yourself, why would you go to a bank? They're not going to invest in you if you haven't invested in yourself. So these are like real talk conversations, but they don't say it out loud.
Mhm.
And I just wanted someone else to feel, look, I get you. You're not alone. This is what it's going to take of what I learned. I'm still learning. I'm only a year in. So, it's not like I'm some pro and I can like give you all the ins and outs, because everybody's going to have their own ways of figuring things out. And everybody's path is different per se. But I still wanted to let, especially women, know like if you have a vision, you can get there. Don't just stop because you have this vision and you think, because there's so many no's,
Obstacles. Hmm.
obstacles. It's not easy. But if you just stay with it and you allow God to just move through you and let him do the rest, there's things that will surprise you and you will see an outcome. And it's not going to be easy, but just stick with it.
So Kim, I mean, that's amazing how you actually built this barbershop from, it looks like a big empty retail space.
Mhm.
And this was the first time that you did it and you didn't have anyone to talk to. So how did you learn the steps to get through the process of seeing the barbershop come to fruition?
The landlord, he helped me, the developer. He's
Okay.
actually a developer as well. And he actually is not just the landlord for my space, but he's a developer for the whole plaza.
Mm.
So he walked me through the steps of what we needed to get done. But I was the one but my vision, we created. And like I said, that was literally the Holy Spirit, but it was still that gave me to him. Not everybody's going to be like that. You might get now my next space when I want another space, it's not going to be him. But now I've already done the legwork and I've done the floor and I've done the blueprint to this. So on that end, I'm really blessed with that. But that was it. It was that. It was learning. It was going through YouTube. I had to other people's stories of what I could find, but most of them were men, to be honest, that I had to learn, that I really had to hear from. I didn't really see a lot of women in that particular space. So there wasn't a lot for me to really gather from when it comes to that. But like I said, the landlord, my agent for the developer that helped me, and his agent and the developer, they walked me through all of that. And like I said, I was new. So it was all new to me and it was all coming at once.
And so you mentioned the agent, the developer, sounds like there were great support systems for you. Mm-hmm. Did you have other support systems just to help you emotionally, mentally? Obviously, God was a guide for you. Were any other support systems that helped you to see this vision come to reality?
My husband, like I said, he is a barber, but he didn't know the business side. He didn't, this was new for both of us.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he was always there 24/7, for me to lean on, because he was at work or he was trying to, he was at work. So it was me trying to really figure this out. I did go through one lady that does pop into mind is Danelle, and she was with the Loudon Economic Development. And I was able to go to her and we were able to sit down in her office. And she was a really, really good motivator for me. She's with the Loudoun County economic team. So she really helped me with my permits. She really helped me stay motivated through this and to give me some insight of what I needed to do. So I do encourage anyone to also try the economic and development team, because they will sit you down. They'll go over your business plan with you to kind of just give you some insight. But I mean, it was more like motivation. It wasn't like they were going to really make it happen for you. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
they weren't trying to, they're not like that. But they are someone to kind of go sit down and just kind of get some feedback from. But I will tell you this, the business plan of what I had and what the reality to make it happen were not the same. Okay. So, I mean, I understand now why people say they look at your business plan and go, yeah, that's cute, because that's just an idea. There's going to be so much that happens that you don't even think about that can interfere with all of that, because your business plan is just a thought. It's not realistic. It's just what you hope will happen. Like my budget at the beginning of all this was probably $50,000, to be honest. I'll be very honest. And it was not that. Okay. So don't get into this thinking that that number that you put in your business plan is going to be your outcome, because it's not. It's not.
So, and that's a good point to make. I'm glad that you're very transparent, that this is what you had in mind, and it really was more than that. Mm-hmm. You did talk about trying to get a loan and realizing that it wasn't easy. It was actually difficult to get a loan because you didn't have a business that was 2 years old and longer than that. So then how did you manage financially to be able to do this?
Oh, I had to put my own money on the table. I had to put my own money. I had to go into my own savings, my own investments, all the things, and use the money that I had. And it was a lot of it. So it's not an easy, it's all in, right? So I just went all in. It wasn't to be expected. I did not expect that. And that's one of the things reason why I wrote the book, because I'm like, look, if you want this, you're going to have to hustle. This is not something that's going to be handed to you. And you just think that because someone else is doing it, it's easy. It may look easy on the outside because this is all you see, but you don't see the day-to-day and the grind and what it really takes. And the sleepless nights and all the things. There was times where I wouldn't even go to bed for probably 48 hours or 72 hours because I was up all, do you have a family? So the only way I could really, and I homeschool my son. Sad that.
Wow. Yeah.
So I didn't even have a chance to do anything till night, till, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night until 7 in the morning. And then he's waking up and then I had to start over as far as, being a mom and cooking and running errands and taking him to his appointments and homeschooling and then being on these meetings during the day and blah, blah, blah. But in the middle of the night is when I got my work done. So it was a lot of, and then I'm having to learn this business because this is a business where there's compliance and regulations and all these things that I had to learn. And I had to learn like furniture and learn what they need. I'm not a barber, I'm not a stylist. So I had to learn what is it that they need? What's going to help them? What's going to help us? What's our software? What's our POS system? I'm learning all of this stuff that I have never learned before and trying to make it look seamless. And you have clients because now these clients can make or break you because they can, word of mouth. And then you got Google and then you got Instagram and you got all these things. And it's like trying to make it so the clients feel good and they're comfortable and they have what they need and it all works. And the barbers, they have what they need and it all works. And then, I need to know what's going on. So it had to flow, right? So that was a learning curve for me. So yeah, so it was a challenge and I made it happen. So I'm I'm excited about it. I'm very excited, but the legwork and everything that I went through is the reason why I wrote the book. Cause I was like, how come no one has told me this part of it? And that's why it's everything they never told me because I never heard it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be transparent. And that's why the book is not faith-based as far as I don't get into that because I want to meet people where they are. I do touch on it very little in the book, but I felt like it was a need for me to at least express the ins and outs of what I've learned so that others that may want to go that path will have an easier or at least know that it's normal and what they're feeling, what they're going through, and they don't feel alone because it could be a lonely ride.
Yeah. I like that. And I was able to read your book and it's a nice, easy read.
Thank you.
And it gives the nuts and bolts of what's needed to be able to start your business and to be able to build it so that you can actually succeed. So thank you for putting pen to paper.
Thank you.
And are there lessons learned or things that you would have done differently as you are sort of talking about the experience and the obstacles, the successes that you went through? Anything you would have done differently, some of the lessons learned?
No, I wouldn't have done anything differently. I'm glad I was told no at the beginning. I'm glad that I'm glad that agent said no, because not only do we have a bigger shop than the space that they gave us, which is what we needed, because we are 2 weeks out in bookings.
That's excellent.
So, yeah. But he taught me that it's not easy, right? He taught me I got better because I heard the word no. And so I don't think I would do anything differently because now it's just like it was supposed to be, how it was meant to be.
Excellent. Any lessons learned?
The only lesson I wouldn't say was a lesson, I would say it was confirmation. And I would say it's confirmation because it reminds me of Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah.
And that's just a confirmation.
Yeah. There's something amazing about having this voice on the inside, called that spiritual voice, that when you're quiet enough, you can actually hear God speak. And then it's a confirmation through a biblical verse, like you just mentioned, that can also, when you're not sure if you're on that right path, it can also encourage you to just keep going. And I love that scripture because that is an encouragement to keep going like that. So you mentioned briefly, I think you just mentioned about having another shop. Is that what you just said earlier?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I would like to go into franchising the shop, but I do want to allow other barbers who are with us to open up another Skillz Kutz. And that's another reason why I built it as well, because I wanted to help other barbers that wanted space besides having a suite. A lot of guys now or women, they like suites for their salons, but suites aren't really doing anything for the community because if no one knows you're in there, then you're only going to get the same clients over and over again, right? So you're not going to get any walk traffic and that kind of thing. And plus, people will like to just drive by or be shopping and go to a salon or something that they can find readily to them. And so I wanted to provide that to people who want to come work for us. And actually, they're independent, so I shouldn't say work for me, but people who are independent barbers who want space in a retail plaza. And I wanted to provide that for them. So, yeah, so we're looking into doing that in the future and helping barbers have their own barbershop. And also, I'm going to do some other ventures within the salon space, but not a barbershop. It'll be something totally different and more for the women. So yeah, so I have
Excellent.
other things coming in the future.
I love that. I
Thank you.
love your vision. So, Kim, what would you tell others who have a vision, have a dream for 2025, but fear is holding them back?
I would say step into your purpose. It's easier said than done because I've been there. I understand. I understand how it could feel like you don't know the outcome. You see it, but you don't know if you can get there. And so I would just say, if you have a vision and you feel like God led you to a vision, then you have a purpose. And if you have a purpose and God says that it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So just step into your fear because your fear is what's going to actually be your strength. So step into that and allow it to be fearful, but allow it to be something where you can, what's the word, like get energy from, like just pull from. You want to pull from that and see what God's going to do. Because you don't know until you try. You don't know. What you think might not be possible is possible.
I like that. And yes, it is about stepping into your fear and not letting fear take control of you.
Yeah, and fear is only as much power as you give it.
That's so true. It is a walk of faith to be able to know that you've got this vision and this dream that you wanted to see come to fruition, but afraid that it's not going to happen. So being able just to listen to what you've done and what you're doing and seeing how you, even with obstacles along your way, how you push them away and you walk through them, and to be able to get to this vision when you saw obstacles, but you said, no, God gave me something, so I'm going to actually keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I really admire you for that.
Thank you.
So this is Your Love Talk, and it's often about not only our obstacles and trials and how we are able to get to the other side, but also about some of the positive messages that we tell ourselves, especially in the midst of struggle. So are there words of affirmation that you give yourself to keep yourself motivated when you have setbacks?
My affirmations are really what I've already said, just to keep going. You're worth it. And that's really what I lean on. I really do lean on God. And I'll tell you something real fast that I have not really shared too much. I don't even know if I've shared this with you, but back to real quick before we end, when I worked for Joyce Meyer, I worked for her. And how I was able to work for her was I was going through a divorce at the time. And when I was going through a divorce, she had came to Maryland for a conference, and my mom and I went. And when I heard her book, an Audible that she had, The Battlefield of the Mind, that I was saying earlier, and when I heard her say, "Do what you can do, and God will do what you can't do," I had struggled with going to college, and I didn't go to college because when I was in high school, I did not take math. I took the basics, but I didn't take algebra because I was too afraid of math. I was never good at math, to be honest. And so when I heard this Battlefield of the Mind, I was much older. I was in my late 20s probably. And when I heard it, I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to school and I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go and enroll and I'm going to take math and just see what happens. I'm saying I can do that. I can at least enroll. And so what I did is I went to the school, I enrolled, I went through calculus 2 and statistics and I got A's. And from that point on, I went ahead and went to school and ended up going and getting my master's, as you know. But at the time, Joyce Meyer, I was going through a divorce, and Joyce Meyer, she's an evangelist, and she was in Maryland at the University of Maryland, and her sermon at the time was called Power Thoughts. And so my mom and I went to see her conference at University of Maryland. And for some reason, I wanted to write down my testimony that I read, like I not read her book, but I heard her book and the confidence that it gave me and reminded me that God is in control. And I wanted her to know that I did go to college and I overcame that because of that. And so anyways, before we entered the venue, my mom said, "Why are you writing that?" And I said, "Because I want to give it to her." She said, "There's 10,000 people out here. She's never going to see it." I said, "I don't care. I'm just going to go ahead and write it anyway." And so I wrote it and I gave it to a staff member and who knows what they did with it. And anyways, during the conference, we had worship. And during worship, I kneeled down and I asked God, I said, "I want to see you." You don't know what that looks like, but you said, "Ask and you shall receive." And I said, "So I want to see you." Didn't think nothing of it after that. I went home that evening and I became a partner I went online to become a partner with her ministry. But when I got online, I was just looking around. It was midnight. And I was just looking around on her site and I saw a job posting and it was an advertising. And I went ahead and I applied for this job. And she's in St. Louis. I'm in Virginia. And while that's happening, in the meantime of all of this happening and through my divorce, it was a really bad divorce. But during that time, my husband had a really well-paying job. And I had an okay, decent job, but I needed some money because I was going through a divorce. And as a woman, you need money to get out of your situation. And so at the church I was going to at the time, my pastor had a job posting and it was about $10, $12 an hour job. And at the time I did have a job that was decent pay, but not as low as that. And the Holy Spirit told me to take this job. And I could hear, just like I'm talking to myself right now, it said, "Take the job." And it didn't make any sense to me, especially going through a divorce and you need money. And so I immediately after service told my pastor I would take that job. I didn't even think it through. I just heard the Spirit tell me to take it. And like I said, I had gone through and I went through applying for a Joyce Meyer because it was late at night. And they ended up calling me about a month or two later. They called me. I went through 5 interviews and I went up to headquarters. They flew me out, did all of that, ended up getting the job. And I got the job and I asked my supervisor, I said, "Why did you hire me?" Because I was all the way in Virginia. You couldn't find anybody out in St. Louis to do the job.
Right, right.
And she said, "It's because you worked at a church." And I said, "Oh, okay." So here I am working in for Joyce at this time. Now I'm there in headquarters working for this ministry. And when I was walking by one of the offices, one of the ladies, I should say, I walked by her office one day, as you would at any job. You walk by, you say hi to your coworkers. And I was talking to her, and she'd mentioned to me that her daughter had trouble with going to college. And so I gave her really the testimony that I gave when I was in Maryland that I wrote down, but I didn't tell her that I did that. I was just telling her my testimony. And I said, "Well, once you get Battlefield of the Mind, that's what I did, da, da, da." And she said, "Kim, go to your office and write that down for me, what you just told me." I said, "Okay." So I went to my office, I wrote it down. And do you know, she put my testimony in the marketing material that was going to all the continents of the world. And let me tell you where it went. The marketing material that we were doing, it was for Power Thoughts. And out of all the conferences that Joyce Meyer does, she put mine in the same one when I was in Maryland. She didn't know. I never told her the story.
Wow.
And then she also put a girl on the front cover of the marketing material doing her homework. And I never told her that I went to Power Thoughts, and she put it in that magazine. And when I asked him, I said, I want to see you. The way he worked that out, it's not a coincidence. That was on him. And so he showed me who he is. Like, I already knew it in my heart. I already knew it in the spirit.
Yeah.
But he revealed himself. And that is why I know, not even probable, I know why I move the way I move. And that's what I'm telling people, is that fear is what you give it. And there's always someone, and he is there. If you believe, he is there. And if you just keep going, you can achieve. So just keep going and see what God gives you.
I love that testimony, Kim. And that is so true. When you ask God, when you say a prayer and ask God to show up, and truly believe that he will show up, you'll see the manifestation of whatever it is that you're asking for. Mm-hmm. So thank you for sharing that story. It's really powerful. I know it's going to touch people's lives. So Kim, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Where do people find you?
Well, you can find me at Skillz Kutz in Ashburn. You can also find me on Instagram. My personal Instagram is Kimberly_Thomas 1. You can also follow Skillz Kutz Barbershop. That's SKILLZKUTZ Barbershop. And you can also get my book on Amazon. It's going to be on Audible pretty soon here next month. So please look out for that. It's called Lead Fierce, Build, Hustle, Win, Everything They Never Told Me.
As I said, I love that title. Thank you for being fearless. Thank you for being an amazing leader. And just thank you for taking the time just to be able to share your story with our audience.
Sure. And don't give up.
Love that. Thank you, Kim, for sharing your inspiring story. You have such an incredible passion for living life to the fullest and pursuing all that God has called you to do. Kim, you have demonstrated that no matter what the obstacles you encounter, it's essential to persevere until your dreams are manifested. You serve as a great example of not giving up on your aspirations, regardless of the challenges you face. I'm so excited to see what you will accomplish next. I will leave you with 3 affirmations from my Love Talk card deck. The first is, I know there is a way through all the obstacles around me. The second is, I manifest my desires through faith, even when I don't see them today. And the third is, I walk with boldness because everything I need is already inside of me. To purchase the Love Talk affirmation card deck or listen to other podcast episodes, please visit yourlovetalk.com. To follow me on Instagram, please visit Dr. Beverly Booth. If you have enjoyed this episode, please remember to like, subscribe, and share it with your family and friends. Thank you for tuning into this episode today. This is Dr. Beverly from Your Love Talk. Blessings.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Your Love Talk. Remember, you're never alone in your struggles. Take the time to affirm yourself daily as an act of love to yourself. And know that this podcast is here to offer genuine support and guidance whenever you need it. For more insightful and transformative discussions, visit yourlovetalk.com to explore additional episodes. Take the next step forward with courage, knowing you can overcome any challenge. That's all for today. Until next time.